Hey kids, I'm in the kitchen again and it's clean out the refrigerator day. I don't know what we're going to make, but I kind of got an idea. Let me show you what I got out. Okay, so I had about a pound of some ground beef left over in the fridge, some spring onions or scallions, this is Salsa Verde, some leftover canned tomatoes. I had some tomatoes I needed to work up and some tomitillos, a little bit of onion and tomato, and so I grabbed some garlic and some spices and leftover tomato paste and taken rehydrated a few beans, and we're going to make like a burrito skillet. Let's see how it turns out. Okay, so I've got on my stove. I got out my lovely porcelain covered cast iron skillet, and I have some avocado oil in there, which has been heating up. And I'm going to put a little test onion in there to see if it's hot enough to start adding some stuff to it. Oh, yeah, there it's going. I'll turn that heat up just a little bit. I'm going to turn it up to about a 4.5 on the electric and give it another minute or two for that oil to heat up, and then we'll start adding some ingredients. Okay, so our oil is hot enough. So we'll put in our onions and our garlic, and we're going to let them cook a little bit until they get nice and soft. Be back in a minute. This is cooking nicely. It is starting to get translucent, and all I'm doing is just stirring a little down. I have not added any spices or anything to it. This is just sauteing. In the meantime, I had went over here and grabbed my Roma tomatoes, and I'm de-seeding them and cutting up into about bite-sized pieces, about the size as your finger, into your thumb there. And I'm going to get those ready. To this mix, we're going to add about a pound of ground beef, which is what I had. Oh, it's not going to come out of there. All right, let's try this better here. That's about a pound of ground beef I had left over in the fridge. We're just using it up. I'm going to let that saute in with those onions. In the meantime, I'm going to cut up some tomatillos. So, got multiple things going on here all at one time. Oh, I want to show you something too while I'm thinking about it. So, when you're cutting up your Roma tomatoes, occasionally you might have something that you find here that looks like this. Let me put that up a little bit so you can see it. What's that? My tomatoes had that. Don't get weirded out by that. That is a baby tomato plant. So if you want to grow some homemade Romas, just stick those little things in some dirt, and you might be surprised what you get after a few weeks or so. Got a nice tomato plant growing. So, hope that's helpful. Our meat mixture has been cooking. If you wanted to cheat on this, what you could do is this on your beef, is make a big spice like this in the middle. Lay all your beef in here and let it sear, and then flip it over like a huge hamburger, and then cut it open and do what we're doing here. But I didn't feel like doing that today. But you can get a really nice color on your ground beef when you do it that way. So this is mostly done, and that's okay. And now to it, I'm going to add 1 generous tablespoon of some Mexican spice seasoning that I have. I'm going to just sprinkle that on top of there all the way around and stir that in. Oh, that has a really good smell to it. Yeah, nice and spicy. I think a tablespoon might be nice for now. We might add a little more later. We'll let that meat cook just a little bit more, not much, and then we're going to start adding the rest of our ingredients. It's looking good. So to this, what we are going to do is start adding the rest of our ingredients. We're going to add a generous 2 cups of diced up Roma tomatoes, approximately 1 cup diced up tomatillos. That's a pint jar of the diced scallions, or about half of that. If I can get it loose in the jar here. Let's try what else we can do here. We're going to save half of that too for toppings for later on. I'm going to add a generous tablespoon scoop of tomato sauce, or excuse me, not tomato paste. Tomato paste. And let me get my jar open here just a moment. Okay, I got it open. I've got a roughly pint of some home canned tomatoes. You can use whatever you want. Something maybe diced that you can get from the store. No salt or low salt if you can. I'll put that in there. We're going to put a little bit of our Salsa Verde, about, I'm going to say about a half a cup, roughly. Okay, we want to save some of that for later. We're going to add, I have a cup of frijoles. I'm going to add that in there too. And half a cup of wild game rice. It's wild and brown and everything like that. We're going to incorporate that and then maybe add a little bit of water here to this. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just stirring this all around to get everything incorporated here. The tomatoes and the rice and the beans. All that young stuff right there. And then we're going to add just enough water here to cover up the rice and give it a chance to cook. So that's what I'm going to do now here. You can see there's some, as you can see, there's some water here already accumulated from the tomatoes and such. We don't want to add too much, but we do want enough to be able to get that rice submerged. So I'm going to add, well, I got 16 ounces there. I'm going to add about 8 ounces at the moment. Save the rest of that for later. And just sort of swizzle that stuff around. Everything gets down in that moisture. And put a lid on this thing and just let it simmer for a couple hours. There we go. I'll come back and check it every once in a while. So we want to make sure our rice is down in there. Now you can add more rice if you want to, but we're not big rice fans at our house. So we're just going to let that cook the way it is. Put a lid on it and come back in a while and check it. So it's been cooking now for about an hour or so. I've been coming down every once in a while, just giving it a stir. Let's take a look and see what it looks like. Well, there it is. The rice is done. It's been cooking in that lovely broth. I'm going to I think I'm going to turn this off because I don't want it to get too dry. And that rice will continue to soak it up. Oh yeah, that's about perfect. Woo, fogging up the camera. All right. Let's take a taste. Now I did add a little bit of basil in the middle of the cooking process because I gave it a taste. It was a little bit acidy, and I think that basil will help. So give that a taste and see what happens here. All right, let's see what it looks like. Well, that's what it looks like. We can get a good picture of it there. Hopefully it's not too hot to eat. Huh. Well, that's nice. It's got just enough spice to it. I might add just a hair more. Or I might just top it off on top when I'm done. But it's got enough spice. The beans are still firm. The rice is done. Turn it off. I'm going to add maybe some lettuce on top, or sour cream, or maybe a little bit of salsa, maybe some chopped cilantro. And that's what's for dinner. Enjoy.